friend, Richard Epcar, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
My pleasure.
Now, for people who don't know what Uncensored is, Uncensored, as in just point in time, is a non-profit. It's a non-official talk show, and the whole point of doing the talk show is show people that even with a learning disability, I can still be passionate and professional as anyone else, and I'm trying to turn this into an official talk show. But the announcement I really wanted to say was, the whole point of Uncensored is to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair to never give up, never label themselves, and to prove to people you can still amount to something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, with that being said, what can you tell me about yourself?
What can I tell you about myself? Well, I'm an actor, director. I've been doing this for almost 30 years now, and I've voiced almost 400 different characters in animation and games and anime. I've also directed a lot of animation games and a lot of ADR, a lot of foreign films into English, such as Academy Award-winning films such as Cinema Paradiso and Bella Pak, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, and I'm the voice of the Joker in several Batman games. I'm the voice of Ansem in Kingdom Hearts. I'm Bato in Ghost in the Shell. I started out in Robotech a million years ago, and I've done on-camera acting. I've done on-stage acting. I've just co-directed Arkham Origins when I did 3 characters in that, and hundreds of titles, and doing this for a long, long time now.
Alright, well, you bring up a good subject. How did you get started into voiceovers? Was it easy? Was it hard? Difficult?
Well, I originally came to Los Angeles to be an on-camera actor, which I've done a lot. I was in a lot of soaps and TV shows and some films. And basically, at the time, I was dating my wife, we were in a repertory theater together doing stage work, and she had done this movie, and in one of the movies she did, the people had a different movie that they wanted to replace all the voices on, and they basically asked her if she could, come and audition for this, and she said, "Can I bring my boyfriend," who was me at the time? And they said, "Sure." So I went there and I auditioned for them, and it was a dubbing job. Basically, we had to replace the dialogue of the original actors. And I'm also a drummer, so I kind of took to it. There's a rhythm to it, and I kind of, took to it like a duck to water, and went really well. And I got a lot of work from these guys, and I got the lead in that thing, and just kept working and doing a lot of voice work. And from that, I went on to Robotech and started doing a ton of anime and started directing it. So I've been doing this, like I said, a long, long time with some big, big titles. Lupin the Third, Digimon, Bleach, Naruto, a lot of these other shows. So I've been working on this stuff for a long time, and that's kind of how I got started in it.
All right. I saw that you are on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny stories you can share, or did you get along with everyone on the cast?
Everyone was great. It was a fun show to work on. I did about 40 or 50 of the monster voices on that show, and I directed. I was one of the directors, the ADR directors on the show. So I got to meet pretty much everybody that worked on it, and we did a lot of stuff on the show for a long, long time, and it was a great group. Great crew.
Did you enjoy working with Season 1 people, or did you enjoy working with Season 2 people?
Well, I have to say that, in my opinion, I think that the first season actors were the best. I thought that was the best cast, and they got, I'm trying to remember his name. He's really, really good. He came along a little later, and he was excellent, but for the most part, I really liked the original cast. I thought they were great, and I was kind of sad that they replaced them, that was a whole other story, with them. They basically were not being paid very well, and they wanted a better salary and asked for a little more money, and as a result, they were all fired, essentially, and they were replaced, and that was the way they kind of kept the price down on the actors. They just kept getting a new cast every season, basically, so that's how that whole thing came about. But I thought the original cast was the best, and I thought they did a good job, and I'm thinking of Jason, the Green Ranger.
Jason.
He's fantastic. I thought he did a great job.
You mean Jason David Frank?
Yes, Jason David Frank did a great job, and he's a terrific guy. And I bump into him at conventions all the time. I see him all the time.
Do you have any funny stories, or did he ever get the chance to talk to Trini?
I've spoken to pretty much all of them. You have to remember, that was kind of a while ago, Power Rangers. I've done a lot of stuff since Power Rangers, so it's kind of hard to remember all that. I know there's a lot of people that are huge fans of that show, which kind of boggles my mind to this day, to tell you the truth, that this show's still on the air. It's still doing well, so it's kind of a funny thing. I was actually asked to direct some of the on-camera stuff for that show, and I was too busy at the time, and I turned it down. I always felt bad that I did that, because I think had I done that, I'd probably be directing a lot more on-camera television stuff, and I kind of wish I had done that, but I didn't, so anyway.
All right.
That's my Power Ranger story.
I saw that you did a voice for Mega Man.
Yeah.
And I just saw the name, and I just want to know, why did you play that character named Cancer?
Mega Man?
Yeah, Mega Man Star Force or something? Mega Man...
I don't know. Like I said, I've done like 400 characters, so I don't always remember all of them. It's impossible for me to remember all of them.
All right,
I have to kind of figure out what that is, Mega Man. I don't really remember it, to tell you the truth.
It's basically a boy in a metal... He's a boy, but he turned into a robot.
Was this a Saban show, or was this...
No, Nintendo.
Oh, was this a game?
Yes.
Wow. Doesn't ring a bell at this point. I don't know. Right now I'm doing a lot of Batman stuff, so that's kind of where my head is at. I'm thinking about all that stuff. Batman, and of course we're still doing Kingdom Hearts, and a lot of new games that unfortunately I can't talk about right now, and some new original animated stuff that I'm doing, that I'm working on, and that I can't talk about, but hopefully it'll be out soon and we can talk about it.
Well, you bring up a good point. You mentioned you do the Joker. Yeah. Was it an honor and a privilege to take the role from Mark Hamill, or do you think some fans prefer Mark Hamill doing the Joker still, or how do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I didn't take the part from Mark Hamill. I was hired to play the Joker, and I know a lot of people love Mark's version of the Joker, and I'm sure he does an amazing job. He's got a ton of fans that love his work on that, and I'm sure he's great. I have actually never heard Mark do the Joker, believe it or not, and it always kind of tickles me when some people say to me, "Oh, you're trying to sound like Mark," because I've never heard him do it, so it's kind of hard for me to sound like, or try to sound like him and besides, I would never do that. I never would ever do a part where I'm trying to sound like an actor doing a character. I'm playing the character. I'm not playing another actor playing the character, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but I'm sure Mark does a great job. I'm sure he has, a ton of fans. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to have him back as the Joker, but, I'm tickled pink to be doing him. I think he's a great character. He's a lot of fun. I've done him 3 times so far, and I'd love to keep doing him. I'd love to do more of him. I directed Arkham Origins, which is another Batman game, and it's a reboot of the Arkham series, and basically Batman and Joker in that game, that particular game, are starting out, so they're in their 20s, and they wanted a much younger cast to do those characters. But thankfully, I got to direct on it, and I got to do 3 other characters. But Thankfully they love me in Injustice, and they keep having me back for that, so that's great. I'm thrilled to be part of that series. Those guys are awesome. And that game, Injustice: Gods Among Us, was named Fighter Game of the Year, so I'm very proud of that. And there's a lot of first of all, there has been a lot of actors who have played the Joker through time and history, and there's a lot of actors that do a lot of different characters. So there was a lot of James Bonds, there was a lot of actors who play Hamlet, and everybody's Hamlet is going to be different than the Hamlet I would do, So I think he's a wonderful character, and he's great. If anyone gets the opportunity to play him, he's terrific. I had kind of a similar thing with Kingdom Hearts. I took over for Billy Zane on Kingdom Hearts. He did the first one, and then I did it. And in the beginning, I got a lot of flack from the fans. It was really hard for them because they really liked his portrayal, and so. I understand that because I'm a huge James Bond fan, and I love Sean Connery, and I thought he was the best Bond of all. So, but the thing is that he obviously Sean couldn't play Bond anymore. He's an old man, and you have to kind of let the character go to somebody else, and you have to appreciate that everyone's going to kind of bring what they bring to it, and it's not going to necessarily be exactly the same, but it's going to be their version of it, and you'll either appreciate it or you won't appreciate it. But I get that there are a lot of fans that like the original guys, and that's fine. But it's funny, my career, I've had a lot of situations where I've been brought in to replace people. So all I can say about Billy Zane is I'm sure he did a great job too. I never heard him do it, but I know that a lot of the fans like me now in the part, and I know that I'm the producer's choice because I've done 6 of them now, and they've told me that I'm their choice, and he only did 1 of them. So and with Mark, Mark's done this part for a long, long time, and I think it was just his choice. I think he just didn't want to do it anymore for whatever reason. I think it's a taxing part on your throat, on your voice, and I think he probably just wanted to move on and do something else. Plus, he's got Star Wars going on. He doesn't need to do the Joker. He's making $80 billion with that, so he doesn't care about the Joker really. I don't know. I'm sure he cares about it, but I think he just felt it was time to let go of that character.
Now you mentioned it's time to let go of that character. It now brings up my next question. What about Kevin Conroy as Batman?
I love Kevin Conroy as Batman. I think he does a great job. He sounds terrific, and one of the biggest honors for me was to work with him as Batman in Injustice. He played Batman in Injustice, and I was the Joker. So for me to play Joker opposite his Batman was very cool for me. I really enjoyed that too. And listen, I hope one day they'll let me play Batman. I would love to do Batman. He's a really cool character. But right now, I think Kevin does a great job, and I think that Roger Craig Smith, who does him in Arkham Origins, does an excellent job. So it's once again, everybody has a little bit of a, there was Adam West who played him on the TV series, and then there was Michael Keaton who played him in the movie, and then there was Christian Bale who played him recently, and and then I guess Ben Affleck's going to play him in the new Superman Batman movie. So and a lot of people are upset about that, but I think we should at least give him a chance and see what he comes up with.
A lot of people say they're upset about Ben Affleck being Batman. He was great as Daredevil. So
yeah, he did. I thought he did a very good job, but unfortunately, the movie didn't do that well. So I think some people are a little worried about that. But it's like I say, these characters there's certainly enough of them to go around for other actors to portray them, and there's been a boatload of actors who played Sherlock Holmes. There's been a boatload of actors who played all these different characters, and now we have a new Captain Kirk, with the Star Trek thing. We have a new, Mr. Spock. So, and I think those guys are doing a great job. Unlike what I was talking about earlier, where I'm just trying to play the character, they actually have to kind of emulate a little bit, I think, of those actors who created those parts. So I think they do a very, very good job at doing that and doing it seamlessly. The actors in Arkham Origins had to do that a little bit too, because they basically were told, you are Mark Hamill's Joker younger, and you are Kevin Conroy's Batman younger. So they kind of had to emulate them a little bit, so that was a little different story. But, I think left to my own devices, I would much rather just have to play the character and not have to play an actor playing the character. I think that's just really kind of weird. But
now you bring up a good point. You say you did the new Batman game. What was the whole deal with Batman being like so depressed after killing the Joker? Why? Batman did kill people, yes, but why was the Joker different? Why did he get so depressed?
Which game are you talking about?
This is after Arkham Asylum when he killed the Joker.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with that particular game, so I don't know. But I think just as an actor and thinking about it, I think even though the Joker is a horrible, terrible character and a terrible person and should be killed, really, but I think that. He's like Sherlock Holmes' Moriarty, and I think that, he's his nemesis, and it's almost like his chess partner or his opposite, in life. And I think that it would be very, earth-shattering in a way to finally kill your nemesis. And, I think part of him was conflicted about it, I don't think Batman doesn't like to kill people. I mean, that's kind of his code. He doesn't want to kill anybody. But I think that the fact that he did, in our game, in Injustice, Superman kills the Joker in the beginning, in a different world. He kills the Joker and pulls his heart out of his chest. And, that's pretty horrible. And that's something you would never expect Superman to do. But he was really pushed to the brink. And, these characters are, they have to view them as people with feelings and emotions, and everybody has things that affect them, or impact them, and they react, differently sometimes than they would normally react.
No, I agree. Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, the next game coming up, Injustice 2. Are you able to talk about that at all, or not?
I can't talk about it, number one, and number two, I honestly don't know anything about it, other than they just announced that they're going to be doing it, and I'm hoping that I'm a big part of it. I haven't heard anything about it yet. They just announced it, but I know, there's going to be a lot of pre-production on the thing, and they're going to be putting stuff together before it ever comes to the voicing of the character. So I'm just tickled pink that they're doing a second one, and like I say, I hope very much that I'm a part of it.
Now, what TV shows were you a part of? I saw you were part of Fallen Skies.
TV shows you're talking about?
Yes.
That I was on camera, you mean?
I think so. I just saw on your website, but you said you were part of Fallen Skies.
It's another one doesn't ring a bell. I'm sorry. I did a lot of, like I said, I did a lot of soap operas. I was on Days of Our Lives, General Hospital, Santa Barbara, Young and the Restless. I did a bunch of those. And then I did a lot of different TV shows like Matlock and Paradise and V. I was on V. That was fun. I got to be one of the visitors. And I was on a bunch of different shows. I was on Columbo, and it's going back a ways, but yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I got to work with some amazing actors, and so yeah, it turned out pretty cool.
Any actors that you're still friends with to this point in time?
Yeah, way back in time, we did a thing called Macross Plus, and I played Bo Goldman, and the other lead in that was Bryan Cranston, who's a very, very big movie star, or a television star right now, and doing very, very well, and he's got a play on Broadway, LBJ, and we bump into Bryan occasionally. We're, he and my wife, Ellen Stern, and I, and we're very good friends with him, and he's doing great. He's doing amazing things, and he's a great guy. And whenever we see him, we're very close with him. I'm friends with pretty much everybody in the voiceover world, because I see them all the time, and I direct, so I see a lot of these people, all the time, where I work with them. So yeah, there's a lot of great guys out there that do, the work, and they're just the voice guys are the nicest guys on the planet. They really are. They're so great. Unfortunately, I can't say that about all of the on-camera people. A lot of them are. I have to say, most of them are. But there's every once in a while, there's a few that come in that are not so great, and they're not so great at this work, to tell you the truth. So, but yeah, in general, I always try to be very nice to everyone, and as a result, I think for the most part, everyone's very, very nice in return.
No, I agree, and you brought up a good point about some on-screen people not being really nice in person. I came across a couple people, from Power Rangers who are really nice. Well, one person, a couple people, including you. And there are a couple other people who are just, like I said, it's uncensored, so you can curse if you want to, who are just sort of fucking assholes.
I've never heard those words before. Yeah, there's a few, and there's a few that I've actually directed that the clients have requested on games, or I've been directing actually started directing a lot more original animated features, and they've asked for some name talent to come in and do some of the stuff, and some of these guys are just not very good at voice work. They may be great in front of a camera, but they're not great in front of a microphone, and it's a whole different style of acting, and unfortunately, if you're not used to doing it, it's a very different technique and very different style. So some of them come in, they're just not very good, or they're just not, they're just not very fun to work with, because it's like pulling teeth sometimes getting them to do a line of dialogue. But once again, that's a very, very, very small percentage, less than 5% of the people that come in. So thankfully, most of the people that come in are wonderful, and and if they don't know how to do it, at least they'll try, and they'll jump in, and they'll do their best, and that's all you can ask of anyone, But as far as having an attitude and all that, nobody needs that. Nobody needs that when you're working. For someone to come in and have an attitude and do a whole thing. So we always have fun when I'm working, especially when I'm directing. We always have a good time, and I always like to laugh, and I always like to make the actors laugh. And the reason I do that is because if you have somebody who's having fun and enjoying themselves, they're going to be a lot easier to direct. They're going to be a lot more creative. And there are some directors that yell at the actors, and all you're going to do is make them clam up and tighten up and not want to do what they do. So I always have a good time, and always have a loose session, and we always have fun when we work.
All right. Well, there's a couple other subjects I'd like to talk to you about, but
sure.
Depends on how much time you have left.
That's all right. Go ahead. We can answer them.
All right. The next subject I was going to ask you, it's on
green notebook.
Huh?
I said, he's bringing out the green notebook. What is that?
That's a bunch of questions I wrote down.
Okay. All right.
And first one is, with everything going on with the media, with the U.S. and Russia, how do you feel about it?
This is a voice actor question, I can see. I don't know. My son's fiance was one of the choreographers of the opening ceremonies for Sochi and the Olympics this year. So we were very, very proud of her for doing that. But honestly, and I don't want to insult an entire country, but and I don't know if it's just growing up in America, and being hearing all the anti-communist stuff. But I'm not a big fan of Russia, I got to say. My wife has always said she wants to go there and see it and all that. I really have no desire to go there and see it. Listen, I know we have our problems here in this country. We've got a lot of problems, and they seem to be getting worse and worse, unfortunately. But there's something about that country that just doesn't. It's just kind of scary to me. I just think there's a problem with the leaders in all countries in general, and it would be nice if we could just take politics out of everything and just do the right thing. That would be a wonderful thing. That would be my wish for the future, and I know that's not going to happen, unfortunately, but it would be really nice, especially in our country. It just, help people that need help and take care of the things that need taken care of instead of going through all these political, gyrations and worrying about that stuff. I think it would be nice just to do the right thing. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but...
No, it does.
Okay.
In the next question I was going to ask you, how do you feel on legalizing marijuana?
I think it's a good idea. I really do. Colorado has done it, and Washington has done it. I think that people that are going to want to smoke marijuana are going to want to smoke it, and they're going to do it if it's legal or not. And I think that it's not that harmful of a drug, to tell you the truth. And I think it's fine. And like I say, you might as well get the taxes from it. We have a lot of problems, as I mentioned, in our country, and part of it is financial, and we need to get money somewhere. And I think it's a good way to get some money and to supplement some programs that really need supplementing. And I think that if that can help, why not? As long as it's used responsibly, obviously, you should have the same ramifications if someone drives high or if they drive drunk. I mean, it's the same thing. You should not be in a car operating a vehicle, whether you're high or drunk or any of that. And, should have the same, parameters about it. You shouldn't be out publicly, high off your butt and that sort of thing. Whatever, the same kind of laws appeal, that are for drinking should go for, pot. But I think if it's used responsibly and used in the privacy of your own home and it's used by adults, I don't think there's really a problem with it.
No, I agree with you. And, you talk about responsibilities. I tell people, you don't drink and drive. I don't respect people who drink and drive, text and drive, smoke and drive. And whoever, and you're like, oh, this person died in a car accident. How? Oh, he was drinking and driving. Or he was smoking and driving. It's like, okay, he gets what he deserves.
Yeah, well, it's bad, and that's one thing people really should not do. And it seems like there's a lot more awareness now, thankfully. I think the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers had a lot to do with that, and I think that sort of thing is helping. There's a lot of car services now that'll just pick up people if they're drunk, and I think that's a good thing, and get them off the road and make it safer for everyone.
All right, well, wrapping up the talk show, do you have anything you want to say to the fans, the listeners? Do you have any funny stories you want to share before we go?
I have one very funny story that I like. One of the reasons, we talked about Kingdom Hearts briefly. When I was, as we said, Billy Zane did the first one, and for whatever reason, he didn't come back. I don't know if they didn't want him, if he was unavailable, if he wanted too much money, if he pooped in their salad. I'm not really sure what the hell happened with him. But anyway, the way I got that part was I played Batou in Ghost in the Shell, and the guy who does the voice of Ansem in Kingdom Hearts in Japan does the voice of Batou in Japan. So when they didn't get Billy, the producers of the Japanese producers said, "Who does the voice of Batou?" And they said, "Richard Epcar." So they hired me. That was one of the few times where I've actually just been hired and I didn't have to audition. So the first time I went in to do the recording, there were 6 Japanese clients in the booth, and there were 6 executives from Disney. And every time I would do a line of dialogue, the engineer would come on the top bat, and he would go, "Just a minute," and they would talk amongst themselves for like 5 minutes. And then they would come back and say, "Can you do that line a little slower?" So I do the line a little slower, and then they come on the talkback and say, "Just a minute," and they would talk themselves for like 5 minutes. And they come back and say, "Can you do that line a little faster?" So this went on all day, and it was driving me insane. Finally, I took the engineer aside, and I said, "How did Christopher Lee put up with this?" He said, "Oh, they did it to him once." And he said, "All right, I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. I'm going to read this script from the top to the bottom, and then I'm going home." And I thought, how cool is that? I wish I could have done that. So now that I've done 6 of them, maybe I can do that now. But actually, after the first one, they kind of left me alone. But they wanted it to be, they were very concerned, and they wanted it to be right, and they wanted to do it the way they wanted to do it, which is fine. But it was kind of a funny story. I love that Christopher Lee. And it's funny. A year or so after that, I read an interview with I think it was George Lucas, and who's the guy who does the Lord of the Rings, the director of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I know the guy's name. I just can't think of it.
I can't think of him for some reason. Oh, Peter Jackson. So Peter Jackson and George Lucas were being interviewed, and they were talking about Christopher Lee, and they both said they love him, but he'll do one or two takes and then he'll walk off the set. So I thought, wow, yeah, he's true to form, I thought that was kind of funny. I got a kick out of that. But anyway, that's my funny story. So.